All right, how's everyone doing? Here we are, me too, of the data reviews. We had a green week this week. Also, the previous week was also green, so that's a good start to this month. Monday, we didn't have any trades since actually I want to review the economic calendar before of the week before we really get into um, you know, the actual trading of the week. So here's the economic calendar. Actually, I think it's better if we go on Thursday. Yeah. Here we go. Okay, so as you can see, obviously the government shut down this week, U.S. government, some dispute between the Reds and Blues about how the government's funds should be used. So Congress decided that it should shut down. Obviously, things are going to be permanent, but for the time being, we had NFP cancelled on Friday. As you can see, it says tentative. That means that it could be removed, could stay, and the time that it would be released is not confirmed. On Thursday, there was 8:30 unemployment here, which was cancelled. So Thursday, we didn't have news. Monday, we didn't have news, any red news to be more specific. And Friday, the unemployment rate, non-farm employment change, average hourly earnings month on month, they were removed, and we only had ISM services PMI at 10 a.m. The other days, Tuesday and Wednesday, we had decent news, you know, casual news. But yeah, now that we have that out of the way, let's move into Tuesday. So Tuesday we took a winning trade. Here it is. It was my model one long. As you can see, we take London, and then once we take London, we perform our model one long, and then we inverse this gap by the enter a bit more premium, but nonetheless, I still enter. We face some accumulation for a while, and then we start to pick up after we enter the 10:50 to 11 a.m. macro, as you can see here, around here to there. That's where we really start to pick up, and we went into and we took take profit down. One thing that I do want to talk about in this trade is that I was meant to hold it until midnight open. And I spoke about it here. Spoke about it here a lot on the entry, but this was a flaw. Maybe I could say it was a flaw in the winning trade. It's easy to look at the bad side of stuff, but I got too scared out of the position. And once we entered this accumulation here, after this big run higher, I started to worry. And after that, I just decided to close at uh, the minor pre-market for at the equal highs, which is these two levels. And let's read what I had here. Said um, here, Steven, yeah, I'm not part of this emotion. I should have left it as is and never went too much speculation. And it even went as high to Asia. It hit Asia by some good. So I was spot on this day. I was, I'm not gonna say perfectly right because no such thing is perfect, but I was, pretty damn near perfect. Why do I want to secure profits even on a demo? This is a practice evaluation. This is not a real evaluation, it's a practice evaluation. When trying to avoid trading for money, I still get scared with the idea of losing money. Maybe it's because it's evaluation whether or not I can move into is whether or not I can move into real evaluation soon. It's making me a bit eager. Again, going back to the eagerness to trade, I've struggled with this problem for a while. Since the beginning, when I first started doing this, eagerness has been the biggest problem for me. Not anymore. Now, the fact that this trade is done and over, what can I do now? I don't want to go back into talking about this and how I felt during the trade, because again, that would reaffirm to myself that I'm not over, not securing an extra 15 points of profit. It's not that big of a deal. I was still green. Uh, let's celebrate the right things. That's the most vital point, the most vital part here. Celebrate the right things. You celebrate the wrong things, you're gonna wind up performing things that obviously give you a quick dopamine instead of celebrating the right things, which is daily gratification, following the model perfectly and market executed like I learned to. and I was able to sit through the ups and downs emotionally, dissociate from the trade for some time, and most importantly, I was able to follow my model today and execute it the exact way it is meant to be executed. So that is the most important point here. Now, this is Monday. No, sorry, this is Tuesday 30th. Just trying to do a quick day review. Or actually, I don't think I need to. I covered everything that I had to on my daily review. So Wednesday, no trade. The thing that happened on this Wednesday is I was really looking for. Actually, I'll go into my day reviews for Wednesday. Wednesday, I was really looking forward to a trade. I had planned out a trade and everything, and it looked very nice. Thing is, I wasn't able to get my model long. Let's take a look. Yeah, here it is. Here it is. So the problem with this trade is, let me actually, it's 5 minutes. Yeah, okay. So this is the 5 minute chart with no wicks. So what happened was this is minor sell side, then this was 9:30 open, and this was the open of 10 a.m. We had um, red news, so I was expecting that we were going to manipulate lower. That's what we did. The issue here is I the run on the minor sell side, the run that would have qualified for the first stage manipulation, making 10 a.m. a second manipulation, happened in a very shallow way. As you can see, there's no wicks to properly prove that this run on sell side here was significant enough to induce shorts. So let's switch to a chart that has the wicks here. As you can see, the run on this sell side is very wicky. So there's no body. Obviously, the, it's just kind of a dip into it and then expand away from it. So this does not count as a proper sweep for me to, signify this as a first stage manipulation because, what did this really manipulate? This is three candles that are very lethargic, and then the run that takes us outside is a wick. And, as ICT says, the wick stood damage and the body stood the story. So what does the body tell me? The body tells me that this did not induce any shorts. I cannot count this as a first stage manipulation goal. And then once we had the run lower that took both these lows or these body lows with another body sweep, I cannot count this as a second stage manipulation because where was the first stage? And my whole model runs off of a second stage manipulation. So I could have taken this trade if I was very, very eager, but obviously I learned from my mistakes, and it did end up working. The long did end up working very nicely. Uh, but I'm not gonna, continue to make the same mistakes that I done before, with eagerness. Don't want to get into it too much, but this was not a good trade for me to take, so I didn't take it, even though it was possibly would have worked. Sure, let it work. There are chances to make money in each one of these candles. Am I going to try to make money off of each candle? Of course not. No, no way. So I'm going to stick to Polymer model. I'm going to stick to what I know. And if it pays me, it pays me. If it doesn't pay me, it doesn't pay me. I just know in the end, I will have more money than I will have lost. So this day was pretty nice, but of course, you can't catch everything, and we just didn't have our model here, a proper model. And if I was struggling with eagerness still, then maybe I would have taken this. But I've grown up from that. I've learned from that. I've developed off of that. I'm no longer in the taking. I don't want to call it stupid trades, but I guess you could say wrong trades. So Wednesday, no trade. Thursday, here is a funny situation. So I ended up taking this trade. It's my model too long. And actually, on this day, my model showed up twice. Showed up my model 2 and then my model 1. One of them lost, one of them won. This was the one that lost. So the whole reason that I took this trade was because obviously it's not a model. We took London, we're beneath the open, and that we performed our model too long here. The issue here was I took this thinking that we had 830 unemployment claims. That was a mistake, uh, you know, obviously I said that it could work and it could end up working, but would I ever trade on a day that is surrounded by all of the dread? Just a single day with not even orange news. It's worse than Monday. Um, day with no news. Would I ever trade on this day? No. Even if this trade did end up working, which it didn't, would I ever want to be in a position where I'm trading on a day where there's a day that's this possibly like possibility of it being like so low with volatility is very high. Obviously, I don't want to be in a trade on that day. Actually, I want to go and review the model, uh, the second model that showed up on this day that did win. So as you can see, this is the trade that lost. This is the model 2 long. We took it to London, then we performed our model 2, and then sorry, I'm getting a call. Okay, and then we performed our model 1, and that worked for a bit, and obviously it started to die off. So low volatility during the day, and by 3 p.m. we were moving equalization. So it's good that we didn't take that. But here was the possible second model 1 long. We took the 5-minute short-term low, the secondary manipulation. Then, as you can see, through this retracement into this fair value gap or this entire range of imbalance. From there, we run to a bit of deep losses, and then from there we explode higher, accumulate for a while, and then we hit TP, which is these relative equalized. But we didn't take that because no news. I don't want to be on trade on those days. But Friday was a rewarding day. As you can see, this was my biggest trade ever. Actually, it was 5.6 RR. It's the same exact thing every single time I take a trade. It's a fractal point of liquidity, either pre-market or London, mostly pre-market in London, because most of my trades happen in the morning. If I were to trade in the afternoon, it might be a morning session liquidity, lunch liquidity, but in these cases, it's been mostly pre-market in London. So you can see we take pre-market, we perform our model 2 long very nicely. We run this low, we create a breaker, and then I enter on this retracement into a small fair value gap here. And then from there, we suffer almost no drawdown, then run higher. I take a partial once we reach this high, 5 and then 50 break even, and then I let the rest run to my 830 open. Now, one thing that I want to talk about here, and I want to mention very deeply, is how proud I am, not because this won, but because I let it run to full take profit. Remember on the first trade that I mentioned this week, the one that we spoke about earlier on Tuesday, I closed early because of fear. I ran into a very, very similar situation mentally when we were around here. When we were around here in price action, I was thinking, okay, we're inside of 5 in a gap and we're starting to accumulate. It's very possible that we shoot down and we take ourselves out of break even, and I cut my profit short. I shook this off. I realized that I was in the same exact headspace as I was the time previously when I closed my trade too early out of fear. So you know what I did? I turned off the charts. I kept my position. I put an alert here. I put an alert here, and I went and I spent time with my family. Let's read this here. Rest half of my usual immediate buffer risk since YM wasn't looking so clean, the XY could have been better. But overall, this was a good trade. I remember when I took this trade, I had the alert set and I went to eat dinner with my family. And I remember telling myself, why am I stressing? I followed my rules, and my reaction to whatever the outcome is should be the same both ways, both loss or win. Of course, a win would be better, but the best thing I did today was not win, but follow my model patiently. Let's pay attention to the good things. We took pre-markets aside and then did a model 2 long, and I followed my system entering on a slight retrace with my stop being tighter than usual, but still applicable. One thing that I also want to put myself on, but I was able to learn from a mistake that I did prior this week on a losing trade. Or sorry, that was not a losing trade, just prior this week. Closing too early because of fear, I also faced this here. As we entered the period of accumulation, I know that old me would have very seriously considered closing, but I put aside the aspect of the money and said to myself, I'm already risk-free and green on this trade. even if it takes me out of break even. What do I really lose? If anything, I gain the world by learning from my mistake. I stood by my analysis, reassured myself on data analysis that what I was aiming for was probably at the end of the day, I followed my model. This helped me emotionally disconnect from the trade. I did not spend longer than 3 minutes looking at the screen. Instead, I spent time with my family, letting the alerts alert me when they were. So basically, what I'm saying here is, um, when really looking at this from a very stoic and rational point of view, without considering the aspect of money whatsoever, you know, I'm trading for the sake of fun. I'm trading just to see if this model would work. Let's say that I'm in that kind of headspace. Why would closing here make any sense at all? Unless I was trading for the money and I want to secure as much profits as I want. And you see how when you trade for money, you're so vulnerable, you're so prone to making these mistakes. You need to disconnect from the idea of making money and focus on following your model and learning from previous mistakes. And that's exactly what I did here. That's exactly what I did here, and it paid off. Even if this had went down and took me out, I would have still avoided acting on fear and instead acting on rationale and acting on following the model. Even if I exited here and price did go down and take a break even, that's not a good thing. That's not a relief. That's not a sigh of relief. You shouldn't be happy because you were, quote unquote smart and you exited when you thought price would run low. That's not the case. The true case here is you're following your model, you're not trading to accumulate as much profits as you can, and you're sticking with your main idea. You're sticking with the original conclusion, and that's what mostly matters here. So that wraps it up for week 2, and hopefully by week 3 I will I'll have passed this account, and who knows, we'll make the video then. We'll be able to see the real result. But until then, everyone have a good weekend and be safe.